Welcome back. This is going to be part 2 for today, February 22nd of 2011. I'd like to go down and show you what's happening in our world and connect those dots so that you'll see that this is not a joke and we are in the last days. The birth pains that Christ talked about in Mark 13:8 are upon us and are getting worse. The prophecy sign found in part of Matthew 24:7, you'll see two different signs in there, along with some of the other signs, but the ones that I'm going to center on now, famine and diseases. And I'm going to now turn our attention to what's taken place in North Korea and read you what's happening. Excuse me. It says, North Korea recently took the unusual step of begging for food handouts from the foreign governments it usually threatens. Plagued by floods, an outbreak of livestock disease, and brutal winter, the government ordered its embassies and diplomat offices around the world to seek help. The request has put the United States and other Western countries in an uncomfortable position of having to decide whether to ignore the pleas of the starving country or pump food into a corrupt distribution system that often gives food to those who need it least. The United States, which suspended its food aid to North Korea 2 years amid concerns about transparency, has no plans for any contributions at this time, said Kurt Campbell, the State Department's top East Asia official. It says, meanwhile, the UN World Food Program, responsible for much of the food aid in North Korea, said its current food supply should sustain operations in the communist country for only another month. So we see a nation starving. And we see that, like many other nations, we see the political people at the top that are getting very wealthy while the citizens starve. And what we see from Scripture is that the Lord did tell us famines were coming. They have it there. Disease, you read about it, the disease that are coming. Starvation, we see in Revelation. If you read the book of Revelation, and I pray that you would, you'll get a special blessing if you either hear it or read it. That's what Jesus told us. That we would see all these types of things taking place. And we see it today. And it's not just North Korea. There's many places around the world. And this is why I'm asking the people to come and read my documentary on the last chronicles of planet Earth. Because all of the documents that shows you what's happening with famines and droughts and hunger and starvation and the wars, and they're all listed in here, and it gives you more information that you'll ever need to show you that Christ is real and He is coming back for us. And the things that He told us to watch for are actually taking place. Now notice this also said in the article that it was plagued by floods. In Luke 21:25, for example, Jesus told us in the last days, watch the roaring seas and the waves. And we know that major storms are what pushes those waves. And we've seen a lot of those just this year. And we've only been in for a month and a half. And so think about what the UN Food and World Program said. They only have enough food for 1 month. What's going to happen after the month is over? And because of all the different storms and floodings and the fires and the droughts that are taking place, like for example in China and in Australia that I covered, and in Russia, where tons and tons of crops are being killed because of weird weather, intense heat, droughts, floods. In war, when you can't plant because of war, conflicts, the result is people go hungry. All of this is taking place. Now, let me scroll down even more. If you go to my website, scroll down, you'll see prophecy again, 24/7. Christ warned about the many earthquakes that were going to come in the last days. And these earthquakes are definitely here. There was another earthquake in New Zealand today, a 6.3 earthquake that killed a lot of people. It was pretty strong. There was a lot of damage there. And the Lord told us you would see this. Not only that, but he told us in Luke 21:11 that one of their signs there would be fearful sights. And we're seeing these fearful sights. It's just not these strong earthquakes. But for example, the Philippines today, we see in the news that thousands of people in the Philippines fled their homes as the volcano erupted on Monday, sending spectacular column of ash high into the sky, the residents said. And you'll see this. I quote this, and I'll give you the link for it. And there's been a lot of activity for volcanoes. You'll see that in 2010 and now in 2011. Earthquakes happening in different places where they normally aren't reported are taking place. These are the things that the Lord said to watch for. Also, when you read the book of Revelation, you'll see in Revelation chapter 18, verse 12, a list of different things that the Lord said were going to be taken away from the people who were living during the tribulation period. And they would be weeping and crying over this, the things that were taken. And two of the items on that list is gold and silver. And do you find it surprisingly now as the oil goes up in the world because of what's taken place in Egypt and Tunisia and now Libya? And there's a lot of uncertainty about oil. Are we going to be able to get our oil? And so it's driving the prices up. But as it's driving the prices up, it's also driving the price of gold, because every time there's instability, gold and silver go up, and gold and silver are two of those items on that list. And I took the news today. It said this: oil and gold prices soared on Monday as a 40-year rule of Colonel Omar Gaddafi appeared to teeter amid reports that the senior officials had resigned and troops loyal to the Libyan strongman were retreating from Tripoli. It says West Texas intermediate oil futures shot up 4.35% to $89.95 a barrel, and Brent crude oil futures surged at 2.4% to $105 a barrel. And it also showed us the gold prices jumped to $14.07 an ounce. And so we're starting to go into areas we've never seen before as the wealth of these materials, these metals, continue to shoot up as long as the problems with the oil. And watch silver. Silver last week, just Friday, now at the spot price, pushing at $34. This is unreal. Or is it unreal? I would suggest that it's not unreal, because Jesus showed us in Revelation 18:12 that if people are going to be weeping over the silver and the gold that's taken away, what does that tell you? That tells you that it's expensive, it's wealth, it's material wealth that they're crying over. And so look for these prices to keep going up and up and up. These are part of the birth pangs, and they are definitely taking place. Are you understanding? Are you getting the big picture of what's taking place here? Now, another prophecy from Psalm 83 is a war that the bordering nations around Israel are going to attack Israel in the last days. Israel will win. And in Ezekiel chapter 38, we read that the nations of Russia and Libya and Iran and Turkey and a host of other Islamic nations will attack Israel to try to wipe them out, just like they tried in the Psalm 83 war, which will come before the Ezekiel war. And so combine these with Matthew 24:7, where the Lord told us, you'll hear wars and rumors of wars. We're seeing the rumors right now. Let me quote something out of Cairo, and this came over the AP. It says Suez Canal officials say 2 Iranian naval vessels have entered the strategic waterway en route to the Mediterranean Sea. Canal officials say the ships, a frigate and a supply vessel, entered the canal early Thursday morning and are expected to reach the Mediterranean later in the day. The officials spoke on condition of anonymity because they aren't authorized to speak publicly about the matter. This marks the first time in 3 decades that the Iranian military ships have traveled the waterway that links the Red Sea to the Mediterranean. Israel has made it clear it views the passage as a provocation. Iranian officials say that the ships are headed to Syria for a training mission. Damascus is a close ally of Iran's headline Islamic rulers and an arch foe of Israel. And so now that they are gone through the Suez Canal, Israel has made a statement that they know that this is a provocation. They have to take this seriously because Iran's president said we want to wipe Israel off the face of the earth, and now they're moving military ships in closer to Israel. And so we almost have the same kind of condition as the Cuban crisis. And something is going to give. Either they're going to back off or Israel is going to attack them and blow their ships right out of the water. They can't afford to allow them to go through. And so we have the same nations who are listed in both the Psalms and in Ezekiel 38 posturing themselves for the coming wars. Iran wants the neighboring countries around Israel to attack Israel. And when you see some of these videos that I posted of millions, 2 million people, Islamic, they're Muslims, that were rallying, that were chanting, and you'll see this about the destruction. We are martyrs. They want to destroy Israel. And this is exactly what we see in scriptures. Now I'm going to go on to another video, so I'll have more time to explain what's happening. But these are critical signs, and they're signs that we're in the last days. There's no question about it. And all of these things are happening all at the same time. And Jesus told us in Matthew 24, read verses 24 all the way to 39. And you'll see that he talked about this is the generation who would see all of these things. And this is the only generation who has seen all of the things taking place at the same time. So there is no question of what generation is going to see Jesus Christ come back. It's us. So scroll down and we'll continue on with the news. And again, thank you for allowing me to come in and to show you what's going on.